Hi, welcome to my channel. Please like, comment, and subscribe. When Indonesia's Foreign Minister Retno Marsudi announced her minister's target for this year, she said the country will intensify negotiations to resolve border disputing with nations including Malaysia and the Philippines. Indonesia, an archipelago of more than 17,000 islands, has decades-long land and maritime boundary disagreement with its neighbors. Retno, who also highlighted her ministry achievement from last year, said boundary disputes needed to be resolved using international law. This is a stance Southeast Asia's largest economy and founding member of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, has also taken toward the South China Sea dispute. Indonesia views itself as a non-claim state in the dispute that Beijing, Taipei, and four Southeast Asian states have over the resource-rich waters. However, an area between Peninsula Malaysia to the west and the island of Borneo to the east that Indonesia claims as part of its Exclusive Economic Zone or EEZ, does fall within Beijing's 9-dash line. Fishing vessels from both China and Vietnam frequently visit the waters around Indonesia's Natuna Island. Retno said 17 rounds of negotiation were conducted with the Philippines, Malaysia, Palau, and Vietnam last year. It is interesting to note that the total number of negotiation rounds conducted in pandemic times has more than doubled from 2020, when there were only 7 rounds, she said. In 2022, effort to accelerate land boundaries demarcation and maritime boundary delimitation will be intensified, she added, referring to the marking or describing of boundary limits. In 2022, will focus on 4 maritime boundary issues it has with neighboring countries, Retno said. Firstly, regarding Malaysia, she said Indonesia hopes treaties on the delimitation of territorial waters in the Sulawesi Sea and in the southernmost part of the Strait of Malacca can be signed. Indonesia also hopes to begin negotiation for the delimitation of the continental shelf at the technical level and to follow up on the agreement to delimit the continental shelf and exclusive economic zones with 2 separate lines. With the Philippines, Retno said, and resumed with negotiation with Vietnam to reach an agreement on the EEZ boundary line in waters near the South China Sea. It also aims to reach a partial agreement on EEZ establishment with Palau, she said. In relation to land boundaries, Jakarta also hopes to resolve demarcation issues related to outstanding boundary problems in the eastern sector, including Sebatik Island. Retno said, referring to an outlying island of the eastern coast of Borneo. The northern part of the island belongs to Malaysia and the southern part to Indonesia. It also hopes to resolve disagreements over 2 sections of its border with East Timor, she said. Indonesia controls West Timor, part of the Indonesian province of East Nusa Tenggara, while East Timor, the east side of the island of Timor, is an independent nation. In 1969, Indonesia and Malaysia agreed to a continental shelf boundary and a territorial sea boundary in the Malacca Strait and in the Natuna Sea portion of the South China Sea, on both the western side of the coast of West Malaysia and eastern side of the coast of Sarawak. But beyond that, the continental shelf and territorial sea boundaries is those waters have not been agreed on. The 1969 treaty followed guidelines laid out by the 1958 Convention on the Territorial Sea and Contiguous Zone, which did not include guidelines on how to establish EEZs for coastal countries. Indonesia ratified the 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea in 1985, which says a coastal country's EEZ can extend up to 200 nautical miles offshore. The agreement on the continental shelf and the territorial sea boundaries that Indonesia and Malaysia signed in 1969 did not include details about Indonesia's EEZ. Malaysia viewed the treaty as the only one it has with Indonesia on maritime boundaries, as well as a tool that Indonesia can use to determine its EEZ. According to Indonesia's calculation, it is entitled to an extra 14,030 square kilometers of waters in the research-rich area, if both countries agree to the guidelines set out by the UNCLOS. At stake are the abundant resources offered by these waters, but difference of perception with Indonesia and Malaysia have been made it hard for them to discuss the maritime boundaries in the region, said Fauzan, an international relations lecturer at Universitas Pembangunan Nasional in Yogyakarta, focusing on border management and security. Indonesia has underlined that it will strictly adhere to UNCLOS going into negotiation with Malaysia this year. Without no saying, Indonesia will continue to reject any claims lacking an international legal basis. In this oil-rich region, Indonesia and Malaysia have no maritime boundary agreement. In 1979, Malaysia unilaterally drew a map that depicted its territorial sea and continental shelf border, which included an area in the Celebes Sea off the coast of the Borneo. Indonesia did not recognize this map and later said it owned the area of sea, calling it Ambalat. Little did the two countries know that this dispute would blow up into one of their most thorny bilateral issues since Indonesia's founding father Sukarno declared his anti-Malaysia stance in the early of 1960s. In 2005, Indonesians took to the streets to protest Malaysia's claim to Ambalat after the latter state-owned oil and gas firm Petronas granted oil company shale exploration rates in and around the Sipadan and Likitan Island, encroaching on the Ambalat area. The dispute also led to military standoff with Indonesia deploying fighter jets to East Borneo after Malaysia sent patrol boats, warship, and air squadrons to the area. In 2002, the International Court of Justice awarded the Sipadan and Likitan Island to Malaysia but did not determine the maritime boundary in the surrounding waters. The ownership of Ambalat therefore needs bilateral negotiation on the region maritime limit. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give like, comment, and also subscribe.